understand that word of mouth is the byproduct of running a great business. It is not your marketing strategy. Today, we're featuring a special conversation that previously aired on our sister podcast, Be Locally Loved, because its themes align beautifully with what we explore here on The Unbridled Creative. We hope you enjoy it. This episode is sponsored by BeLocal, the nation's leader in welcoming newcomers and connecting them to the best places to go, the best things to do, and the best businesses to use in our community. If you want to reach new families moving into your backyard, visit reachnewcomers.com. What if the key to growing your business isn't more followers, but deeper roots? Welcome to Be Locally Loved, the podcast that celebrates the people, places, and ideas that help communities thrive. I'm your host, Laura Capes-Terry. I'm a local publisher, a marketing strategist, and someone who believes deeply that when a business becomes trusted in its own backyard, growth stops feeling like a chase and it starts feeling like momentum. So in each episode of Be Locally Loved, we're going to explore how great businesses build real relationships, earn trust, and become the kind of brand that people talk about at dinner tables and at school pickups. Because being locally loved isn't accidental, it's intentional. And today I want to welcome my co-host from The Unbridled Creative, Trent Soles, so we can dive in with you today what it means to become locally loved. Welcome, Trent.
Hi there. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. So great to have you here. So what I want to do today, Trent, is just dive into the inspiration behind this podcast. It's meant to be a limited series that dives into the people, places, and ideas that help communities thrive. One of those ideas is something that we both love and are very close to, a media company called BeLocal. I own a BeLocal in Georgetown. You own a BeLocal in Southwest Columbus, but there are over 125 BeLocals serving the most desirable places to live in the country. And I want to dive today into what is BeLocal? Why are we passionate about BeLocal? How does BeLocal help a local business? And how does BeLocal help a community thrive?
Yeah, this is a great subject to talk about because it's something personally I've been always passionate about, and why I started a BeLocal over 7 years ago, because I think we were the number 4 BeLocal in the country when we established ours, and we all 4 of us, or at least 3 of us additional, had started at around the same time, and it's expanded significantly.
Can you speak to why BeLocal started? Like, where did it even come from? I'm not sure I totally know all of the history.
Yeah, I could do that. Oh, right now.
Right now. Let's go. Tell me the history of BeLocal.
Okay. Well, you can tell we just, hey, let's start talking about this. And what's great about that is to just have natural conversation like this, which is what we do on the Unbridled Creative podcast. To give you kind of a background of BeLocal, it was born out of an effort that one of our team members had on the East Coast. He was working with a lot of realtors, and those realtors owned homes in an area, quite a significant amount of homes, hundreds, and they wanted to inform people of what there was in the area. Well, those realtors thought, wait a second, we rent these things to visitors, but what about new homeowners we sell homes to? What do they have? And they realized they don't have anything. So BeLocal was born out of filling the need for helping guide people to the local resources that are most important to them, and then to be financed by the preferred local businesses in the area. And it came from simple roots of that concept of solving that big problem that new homeowners have. And by the way, it's a problem that most, especially business owners, are completely unaware of unless they have moved themselves to a new area, and a brand new area completely, and they have no clue what's in the area. If someone gets on a social media group, and if you get on there and say, hey, what's the best plumber to use in town? You get about 50 choices from
Right,
people that you
right,
don't know.
right.
And some people say, just Google it. Well, you get another 50 or 100 choices. Who's better? Who's worse? You don't know who says that they're better or worse. So where's that leave you? And what about the additional local resources that aren't just businesses? They're just resources in the area you want to take advantage of. Where do I take my dog to a park that allows dogs at a park? Things like that.
Right. So I love a great story of a business that stepped up to solve a problem. Those are the most successful business when they find a problem. Like the bigger the problem, the bigger the pain, the bigger the payoff, right?
Yeah.
So this one person saw this need from the realtors saying, wait a minute, like we want to give our new homeowners, let's just call it the yellow brick road. We want to give our new homeowners the yellow brick road to their new hometown, their new backyard, like where to go, what to do, who to trust. And can you help us create almost like a Bible kind of a resource, an essential local resource that we can give them as a gift that helps them discover the people, the places, the ideas, where to shop, where to eat, where to take your kid, where to take your pet. And that's how BeLocal was born. And now it's in over 125 cities across the US, and we're growing like crazy.
Yeah.
So I
And you
love that.
And you know what I found that is the commonality of the most successful B locals around the country is when they have had cities and chambers and organizations, downtown organizations, come to the B local director and say, "Hey, we want to partner with you.
Yes.
Because we know that what your goal is and what your system is that we can't do ourselves is essential to our community and welcoming the new people into our area, the newcomers. And if we don't have that, we don't have the time or capacity to create it ourselves. So those cities and organizations who've partnered, who've come to that Be Local director, those are the most successful economically speaking, because you can speak to that as well. Um,
Yeah.
Shorten,
I mean, I could just tell you my own story of that. It's exactly what happened. I had opened my first Be Local in Cedar Park. We opened during the pandemic, of all things. I mean, we were in ramp up. We were about ready to go to print. The pandemic happened. And I thought, oh my gosh, we're out of business. Who is going to want to advertise in a pandemic? But guess what? In a pandemic, when people can't shake hands, they can't meet up, they can't connect. It was more important than ever that these businesses advertise, and Be Local allowed them to get into a home because of the quality of the resource guide. It was able to get into a home, past the trash can, onto a coffee table, onto a countertop, onto a nightstand. It did not get thrown away. It got treasured. It got dog-eared. It got post-it noted. It got circled. Like the the value of it from a resource standpoint was so high that we nominated Be Local in Cedar Park for Small Business of the Year. I never thought in a million years we'd have a chance of winning, but we were runner up and we lost to one of our clients. So who was advertising with us with a
great.
double truck. Yeah. So I was like, we're okay with that. We can lose to one of our clients. So I knew in Cedar Park that we were on to something special. This was about 7 years ago. So it's like 2019, 2020 that we were ramping up and launched. And then a couple years later, I had moved to Georgetown to be near my parents. And I had enrolled in the Leadership Georgetown program at the local Chamber of Commerce. And if you've never done the leadership program in your city, I highly recommend that. It's a pull behind the curtain of how the city runs. You meet city leaders, police, fire, hospital, charities, economic development. Like you meet everybody that's running the city. And it's such an eye opener to like what it takes. And that's one of the goals of this podcast is like, what does it take to create a community that thrives, to be a place that people want to live and work? So I saw that happening in Georgetown. And I also heard the mayor and the city manager talking about the challenges that the city was facing because Georgetown had really gotten on people's radar in Central Texas during the pandemic. People were moving out of California into Texas like by That's crazy. And they were choosing to live outside of the Austin metro. And Georgetown's about a half hour north of the Austin metro. So people were coming here like crazy. And the city manager and the mayor were talking about the challenges that that was facing for the city, from water conservation and walkability and parking and public safety and like all of these city resources and how to keep the city affordable. I went to the city with BeLocal Cedar Park, and I said, I keep hearing about all the challenges that the city's facing related to the booming population. Would it be helpful to you if I brought BeLocal to Georgetown? Here's what we're doing in Cedar Park, and it just won runner up for Small Business of the Year. Like maybe it could be helpful to Georgetown if we created this resource and proactively mailed it to the new families moving here. And you know what they said? They said, we have known for decades that the future of our town is the new homeowner that's coming in. They're buying a home, they're putting their kids in the school, and they're plugging in as community leaders and community contributors. And we've just never had the time, energy, resources, staff, budget, like you name it. We haven't been able to proactively welcome them in the way that you can. So can we just partner with you? Can we love this? Can we do this with you? And they partnered up with us. They took a full page ad and they still have it to this day. And then we push out 5 articles for them. We push out a welcome letter from the mayor. We push out a letter from the mayor pro tem casting a vision of the next 10 years. It's called The Future of Georgetown, where he's talking about how the city is handling those things I mentioned, water and parking and public safety and all of that. And it also includes all of the things that we as locals want new movers to know about. It's where to shop and where to eat and where to go with your kids and where to go with your pets, like all of those essential guides that I just call, it's the word of mouth from the community packaged in a box with a bow on it. And we call that BeLocal. So we launched my second BeLocal back in 2022. We're in our 4th year right now. And the city of Georgetown took BeLocal in front of the Texas Downtown Association back in, I think it was 2023, and said, hey, we've got something kind of cool here in Georgetown that we think other cities across Texas, and I'd say across the nation, could benefit from, because look what it does for the economic vitality of our city. When you proactively welcome a new homeowner into town, not only is that good for the culture of your city, like you're saying, we noticed you're here. We care about you. We welcome you. We want you to have an easier go of it, because moving is exciting, but it's also really overwhelming. And this is a way to cut years off the process of settling in. In fact, I remember when I moved to Georgetown, it was right before the pandemic. I didn't even know we had a visitor center. It took me 2 years to find the visitor center. And I think, the visitor center is very well known by tourists, people that come into the city for a day to eat or shop. But as a new resident and a new local, I didn't know we had a visitor center. And the fact that it took me 2 years to find it is not good.
Yes.
So we put an article in BeLocal Georgetown that says here are the top 10 things you should do when you move to Georgetown. And it's everything from get the city's newsletter that comes out, every week via email. Go to the chamber and get the chamber's membership guide, because it's full of thousands of local businesses that can help you. Go get your library card. Go to the Palace Theater and see the history of that beautiful place. Like we point and go to the visitor center and get all the little brochures of all the places around the city that would, be fun for your family. By packaging all of that up into one essential resource, we cut years off the amount of time it takes someone to get plugged in. And when you do that, you shorten the amount of time it takes for them to start spending money with those local businesses when they enroll their kids in an aftercare program, or they take their dog to a dog trainer, or they shop at the boutique, or there are events. Events was another big thing that people were hungry for. Like the new homeowners are like, what's going on in town? So events is a big thing for BeLocal. So we ended up winning the Best Downtown Partner Award because of our contribution to the economic vitality of Georgetown. And what I love about that is it just celebrates BeLocal, the brand, nationwide, to say, this is who we are, this is what we do, this is the mission of BeLocal, is to help our communities thrive by proactively welcoming those new movers and quickly connecting them to preferred local businesses, businesses that are beloved in the community, businesses that people know, like, and trust. But these new homeowners, they don't yet know these businesses exist.
Yeah.
So these businesses have to do something to extend that olive branch to these new homeowners and say, hey, welcome. We're glad you're here. And by the way, we've been here for 30 years and, we're happy you're here, right?
Yeah. And even the one thing that we do with BeLocal is not only the print platform, which is a keepsake, a keepable thing, and it people respond to it differently than they do online, right? Online ads, they look at them differently. There's something about print that is more lasting in our minds when we look at it and credible. And then online, to be able to interview a business and have them provide helpful tips to that new homeowner, which really reaches everybody else in the community, that's the person they want to actually go to because they're the most helpful. And by the way, I wanted to reference back to something you said about what Georgetown did that was so, so smart that, well, multiple cities have done this throughout the nation, is the new homeowner, when you train them, there's a better word for that. When you guide them and educate them and help them understand the premise of the community and the people and the places and the ideas within the community, they come in as a community member and they can thrive even more because they understand what they're coming to. They
That's right.
understand what they're part of. Because if they don't have that understanding, they're going to just come in with their own ideas and try to change what's already established, right?
You are absolutely right. And let me add to that. When I decided to bring BeLocal to Georgetown, I got to say, some of the locals were not excited because the idea was we were going to proactively welcome these new movers. But the locals that have lived here for decades were not excited about the new movers. They did not want their city to grow. They did not want their city to change. So my promise to the longtime local by creating BeLocal was that, look, part of my job is to capture the history, the heart, the culture of this town and pay it forward to these new residents because I can't stop them from coming. The city leaders, I heard them say that in leadership. They said, we can't stop the growth, but we can manage it well. So BeLocal is one of those ways that we can help the city manage the growth well. And by using part of our content, part of our platform to pass on the history, heart, and culture of our town, we do let people know who we are so that they can step into it and become a part of who we are and not come and change it. And I'll tell you that one of the most popular articles beside the dining guide is like, oh, everyone wants to see like these
Right.
90 local restaurants that people
Everybody
love that
wants
are,
food.
yeah, they're locally owned, locally operated. But one of our most popular articles is called Charities We Love
Yeah.
because Georgetown is a very giving heart community. Like when you're a business owner in Georgetown, and any businesses in Georgetown that are listening to me right now, hear me when I say people want to do business with you when they know how you give back.
Yes. How much you care.
So that's exactly right. So if you're going to do business in Georgetown, you need to find a charity partner to give back to because we expect that of our businesses in Georgetown. And to share that with the residents and say to the new homeowners, we are a giving city and we all have charities that we're passionate about. And here's a list of 60 local charities where you can donate your time, your talents, your treasure. Like this is a part of what it means to live in Georgetown. that's when the locals started to relax a little bit and say, yes, we
Yeah.
like what you're doing with BeLocal.
That's an important distinction. If you're welcoming people into an area that cares, you want the new people to know that you care and that they can care too. And then all of a sudden, you've got a whole community, even with new people caring about each other. Such a great concept, but it's something that cities, municipalities have a hard time knowing how to do because I understand the challenges that residents have, that locals have when they don't want change. What they're really saying is not that they don't want change. What they're really saying is that I don't want the change to go bad. I don't want it to be bad for us. I don't want riffraff coming
Right.
in my community. You
Right.
hear these
Right.
terms. I don't want change that doesn't reflect our community. So I get that. And I don't think city municipalities want the bad change either. They want the good change. But by, like, for example, Georgetown providing what the future vision is and educating people on that, the new homeowners, and having articles in BeLocal that reflect that, that's genius because that's a way to connect with the community members. Otherwise, they wouldn't know we're there. And by the way, cities don't necessarily know who's moving in. It's not like they get this message and an email like John Smith just moved in. They have to go search for these things. They don't even
Right.
have mailing lists like we do
Right.
that have been vetted. They're just like going to the auditor's website, which isn't going to give them all accurate data. And so they're at a disadvantage.
That's actually a really important point to make is that, we've seen other companies like Welcome Wagon and places like that buy lists from the Deeds and Records Office and mail coupons. Like that's been around for decades. Here's a problem with that. When you buy a list from the Deeds and Records Office, that list is at least 90 days old. So that person has already settled in. They've already started Googling. They're finding their way. They're hiring the painter to paint their house. They're building a pool. They're putting in new floors. They're remodeling their kitchen. They're doing whatever they're doing. So that's the first thing is you're late. The second thing is when you're mailing coupons and Groupons and direct response postcards to a new homeowner, which by the way, they get slammed with when they first buy a home. Now all you are is a solicitor. Like, do you want to be seen as the community solicitor? Buy now, buy today, price off? No. You want to be seen for who you are, which is someone that's been in the community for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, and you give back to these charities and you've served on these boards and you've got thousands of local residents that love you. You want to be seen as a trusted local resource, and you want to make that great first impression when someone moves here. You don't want to just solicit them, right? So that's a
Transactional.
exactly. So we're pivoting from this idea of a transaction to this idea of a new relationship. And a new relationship takes time to develop. I often joke, people will be like, well, I advertised in BeLocal and I didn't get any calls my first month. And I'm like, would you walk into a coffee shop for a blind date and ask them to marry you the first time you make eye contact? Like, no. So let's just remember that new relationships are like planting seeds, and those seeds need time to grow roots and bear fruit. So do not expect a transaction. And honestly, businesses that expect a transaction are really not a good fit for us at BeLocal.
Yeah, that's true. It's helped a client recently through they have a process of tracking, right? You'll find this funny, and businesses and BeLocal directors will find this funny. So what we did was I looked at his tracking mechanism, and on his form, he had all of these different places like TV, radio, billboard, Oprah,
Oh,
magazine,
Oprah.
right? Facebook, Instagram, Google, etc. Right? So he said that invariably, every time he gets people clicking on TV and radio, which are the first two or first three, and here's the funny part of the story: he's a dentist who's never advertised ever.
Could have predicted that, Trent. You know why? People don't care about your tracking. They want to get on with their life. So if you give them a form like that, they're just going to choose the first thing.
Now they were amazed he was on Oprah.
Right.
'Cause you know,
So years ago, I was the director of marketing for a large chain of fitness equipment stores, and we ran a Midnight Madness sale. We spent, I don't know, a couple $100,000 on this mass media campaign, and we had everything running except TV. We had radio, we had direct mail, we had online, we had newspaper, we had it all. And I was standing there that night. We were open till midnight, and it was like waiting line at the cash register. I mean, it was insane. We set records. It was so cool. But anyway, I'm standing at the cash register watching the salespeople ring these people out. And, they had been told to say, "How did you hear about the Midnight Madness sale?" And I literally witnessed a husband and a wife. And the husband said, "Oh, I don't know. We were just driving by." And the wife said, because so the salesperson would have just put in the computer, drive by, right? Well, the wife hits him on the arm and she said, "That's not true. We heard it on the radio and I have this postcard." And she pulled a postcard out of her purse. So the reason that I tell that story is that it takes more than one impression for a business owner to remember you. So you have to stay consistent. You have to hit them more than one way, because one time, one way is just not good enough. And that's why BeLocal uses the power of print and the reach of digital to hit them multiple ways. We get in the home with the printed piece, which is the most trusted form of advertising. If you do your research on the power of
yeah,
magazines,
just Google it.
especially luxury magazines, is the most credible form of media. People believe what they read in a credible high-end magazine. So we use the power of print, but then we use the reach of digital. People see those ads on their phone, on their computer, on their social media. So our business sponsors can get 4 introductions with one marketing partner called BeLocal. And that's a huge value to a business owner, because they got 4 introductions without having to lift a finger, because we're doing it for them. And I want to make the point, which I know you love to say, is that we're doing something for a business that they can't do for themselves. Because when we talk about you, we're giving you almost like an ambassador influencer kind of an endorsement, which is far more credible and far more powerful than you promoting yourself, because
Oh, yeah.
people know that self-promotion is self-promotion. They want to hear third-party credibility. They want to hear testimonials. They want to get referrals. They want to get recommendations, which is why we as BeLocal area directors, we meet in person with every potential sponsor, because I don't know about you, but I've said no
Yeah.
to businesses and said, "I'm
Yeah.
sorry, you're not a fit for our
It's
audience." Like,
personal referral
that's
of ours.
exactly right. Like, you coming into the BeLocal family are a reflection on the rest of the sponsors. So I have to make sure that, you're known by the company you keep. I have to make sure that you're a beloved local business that the locals know, like, and trust. Because if you're not, you're just not a good fit for our platform.
Yeah, and just to make one point clear, even more clear, when you said that I'm speaking to the business owner now, when you promote yourself on social media, it's impossible to do it outside of promoting yourself. It's coming from your own page. And to have a local influencer, I don't care who it is, could be a BeLocal or it could be anything else, a local influencer talking about you from the outside is them bragging about you rather than you bragging about yourself. That's a very, very important distinction, because I've had businesses say, well, we do our own social media, we're fine, not realizing that the power of just one post done by a BeLocal director, a local influencer, BeLocal influencer, the power of just that one post is 100-fold compared to your own post of yourself on your own platform that only reaches your own people, pretty much, unless you do a sponsor ad, which that's a different story altogether.
Well, and this podcast is called Be Locally Loved. So that's a great opportunity for us to pivot and say, how does a business become locally loved? And we all know that one really important way is to have other people talking about you. It's called word of mouth. Here's the problem with word of mouth, is that word of mouth is not something a business can build a sales pipeline around. You can't look at your pipeline or your sales sheet and say to your salespeople, what are you going to do next month, guys? What are you going to do next quarter, guys? What are you going to do next year, guys? They're going to say, I don't know. We're waiting for the word of mouth to happen. Like you cannot control or direct or count on word of mouth. So we want business owners to understand that word of mouth is the byproduct of running a great business. It is not your marketing strategy, but a way to leverage the idea of word of mouth is to partner with local influencers in your community that when they have an audience and when they speak to their audience about you, you get implied credibility, implied endorsement, and you climb that know, like, and trust curve much faster. And I might say, when you're only doing self-promotion, I'm not sure you're climbing the trust credibility curve at all. I think that you might even kind of be hurting yourself because people, again, will see you as a solicitor and not a trusted local resource. You have to lead with service. You have to lead with education. You have to help people. That is how you send out trust signals to your community.
You know, it's cool that I've recommended to a lot of BeLocal directors recommend to their clients, their preferred local businesses, is for those preferred local businesses, when they see a post from a BeLocal director from their page about another business, it may not be their competitor, but another business, they share that post, bragging about their fellow business in the community that's doing a great job serving people. And then guess what happens? They end up doing the same thing for themselves. So you get local influencers all over the place talking about each other. Well, guess who the pool of businesses that people will want to hire? They will want to be in that. I've had many people say that we have our BeLocal, and if we can't find the BeLocal, we just go on the website and we look for the preferred businesses, because that's where we pick our businesses. We know you vetted them. We know you interviewed them. We know that they're accountable to you, because if businesses are doing very bad with local residents, we won't partner with them anymore. We won't highlight them. So that's so important to local residents. It's not about how many Google reviews they got from all around the world, which they can control themselves. It's not about how many likes and followers they have on social media. It's about what people are saying.
Right. Well, and I mean, I'm a believer that a rising tide lifts all boats. So when I see BeLocal sponsors supporting other BeLocal sponsors, we're all in service to our community. We're all here to help our city and our community thrive. And when we celebrate local businesses as a thing, like that's good. These local businesses are the heartbeat of our community. If we didn't have local businesses, our communities would be completely different. So we exist to help local businesses thrive. This podcast, Be Locally Loved, is here to help businesses understand how to become locally loved. And BeLocal is just one idea of many that can help a community thrive. So we thank you all today for joining us. We hope that you'll come back as we continue to interview people, places, and ideas that are helping our communities thrive. Thanks for being with us. We'll see you next time.
Take care. Thanks for joining us on The Unbridled Creative,
where we believe your story matters, your voice has power, and your dreams were planted on purpose.
And if something sparked in you today, don't let it fade. Take a step, trust the nudge, build the thing.
And if this episode encouraged you, we'd be so grateful if you'd help us spread the message.
And if you haven't already, hit subscribe so you never miss an episode.
Share it with a friend who's ready to build with heart, not hype.
And leave us a review. It helps more bold believers find their way here.
Wherever you are in your journey, we hope this show helps spark your hope, fuel your fire, and strengthen your faith in what's possible.
We're cheering you on, praying for you, and showing up every week to help you keep going. So, be bold, break free, and live unbridled.